Chapter 9, and as you'll have gathered probably from the opening slide for this service, it's Jesus heals a man born blind. So we're going to ask, we've got various people reading, and we've got our man, haven't we? Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. So we're okay, so you'll be able to be ready at the appropriate moment. So hopefully everybody's got their script. So Jesus heals a man born blind. As Jesus walked along, he saw a man who had been blind since birth. Jesus' disciples asked him,
"Teacher, why was this man born blind? Was it because he or his parents sinned?"
No, it wasn't. Because of his blindness, you will see God work a miracle for him. As long as it is day, we must do what the one who sent me wants me to do. When night comes, no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world.
After Jesus said this, he spat on the ground. He made some mud and smeared it on the man's eyes.
Go and wash off the mud in Siloam pool.
The man went and washed in Siloam, which means one who is sent. When he had washed off the mud, he could see. The man's neighbours and the people who had seen him begging wondered if he really could be the same man.
Isn't this the man who used to sit and beg?
No, it's just someone who looks like him.
I am that man.
And how can you see?
Someone called Jesus made some mud and smeared it on my eyes. He told me to go and wash it off in Selby pool. When I did, I could see.
Where is he now?
I don't know.
So we come to the second part of our reading, where the Pharisees try to find out what happened. The day when Jesus made the mud and healed the man was a Sabbath. So the people took the man to the Pharisees. They asked him,
"How are you able to see?"
Jesus made some mud and smeared it on my eyes. Then after I washed it off, I could see.
This man, Jesus, doesn't come from God. If he did, he wouldn't break the law on the Sabbath. How could someone who is a sinner work such a miracle?
The Pharisees could not agree among themselves, so they asked the man,
"What do you say about this one who healed your eyes?"
He is a prophet.
But the Jewish leaders would not believe that the man had once been blind. They sent for his parents.
"Is this the son that you said was born blind? How can he now see?"
"We are certain he is our son, and we know he was born blind."
But we don't know how he got his sight or who gave it to him. Ask him. He's old enough to speak for himself.
The man's parents said this because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders. The leaders had already agreed that no one was to have anything to do with anyone who said Jesus was the Messiah. The leaders called the man back.
"Swear by God to tell the truth. We know that Jesus is a sinner."
I don't know if he is a sinner or not. All I know is that I used to be blind, but now I can see.
"What did he do to you? How did he heal your eyes?"
I've already told you once, and you refused to listen. Why do you want me to tell you again? Do you also want to become his disciples?
"You are his follower. We are followers of Moses. We are sure that God spoke to Moses, but we don't even know where Jesus comes from."
How strange. He healed my eyes, and yet you don't know where it comes from. We know that God listens only to people who love and obey him. God doesn't listen to sinners, and this is the first time in history that anyone has ever given sight to someone born blind. Jesus could not do anything unless he came from God.
You have been a sinner since the day you were born. Do you think you can teach us anything? You never come back into any of our meeting places.
And now Jesus speaks with the man. When Jesus heard what had happened, he went and found the man.
Do you have faith in the Son of Man?
Sir, if you tell me who he is, I will put my faith in him.
You have already seen him, and right now he is talking with you.
Lord, I put my faith in you.
The man knelt down before Jesus and worshipped him.
I came to judge the people of this world. I'm here to give sight to the blind and to make blind everyone who can see.
Are we blind?
If you were blind, you would not be guilty. But now that you claim to see, you will keep on being guilty.
Thank you all. So the healing of the man born blind is one of the 7 great signs that John includes in his Gospel. Signs pointing to the nature of Jesus. So let's look first at what this miracle reveals about Jesus' nature. And then we're going to just look quickly at the response of the other people involved in this great event. So Jesus is illustrating in this miracle of healing the man born blind what he has just proclaimed. He is the light of the world. We see him transform this man's life with his light and love. And the fact that the man was blind right from birth is emphasised. So once healed, the man will be able to see for the first time ever. He'll begin a completely new life. The light of Jesus will flood into his life. His healing is not only just the physical healing, is it? As always, Jesus transforms the whole person. The man passes from physical darkness to light as he gains his sight, but he also moves from the darkness of fear and ignorance into knowledge of Jesus, the light of the world. By the end of the passage, we heard that he's able to worship Jesus as the Messiah. His eyes are opened spiritually as well as physically. And did you notice that Jesus seeks out the man when he hears that he's been excluded from the synagogue and offers him the opportunity to take the next step of faith, an opportunity that the man seizes with all his heart. And Jesus has sought each one of us out individually too. And he continues to lead us on our journey of faith to the unique place that we occupy in the heart of God. Like the man born blind, each one of us has been especially chosen to bear witness, our own distinctive witness, to the light of the world, and to serve God in the special and unique way that he created us to do. We're chosen, sought out by Jesus himself, invited to walk with him on a journey that leads to God's wonderful kingdom. How privileged we are. How do you feel about that? And what is your response to Jesus? Because we see different responses to Jesus after this miracle, don't we? The fact that Jesus heals the man on the Sabbath day brings him once again into conflict with the Pharisees. The Pharisees think Jesus is a sinner because he's broken the rules about working on the Sabbath. They are outraged by this infraction of their interpretation of Jewish law. And they fail to see God at work doing a new thing. In fact, they're actually afraid of God doing a new thing that will disrupt their carefully ordered lives and erode their power base, their authority with the people. Sin for them is breaking the letter of the law. They don't see that sometimes keeping the letter of the law can actually break the spirit of it. To the Pharisees, breaking a rule, however small, is sinful. But for Jesus, sin is doing something unloving, breaking or hurting a relationship, or failing to act lovingly, ignoring somebody else's need. As his followers, we need to make sure that we always make this distinction too. Breaking a little rule can sometimes be necessary in order to keep the spirit of Jesus' law of love. And it's breaking the spirit of that law that is sinful. Doing something unloving or failing to do something loving. Ignoring people in need. The Pharisees exclude themselves from coming into the light that Jesus brings. They exclude themselves because they're out of tune with God's purposes. They follow the letter of God's law, but they fail to see the spirit behind it and feel the spirit behind it. They exclude themselves because they've closed their minds to the possibility of God doing something new. Through fear of change, perhaps. Through pride in being, as they think, in the right. They think that they can see clearly. But tragically, they condemn themselves to remaining spiritually blind. And the parents of the man who is healed also miss out on the opportunity to respond to Jesus and be transformed by his light. They miss out because they're afraid. It's clearly been decided that anybody who says that Jesus is the Messiah will be barred from the synagogue. And the synagogue, of course, was the focus of the whole community. So to be excluded from the synagogue has considerable consequences, certainly social consequences. The man's parents aren't willing to anger the Pharisees and risk the loss of their place within the community. So we noticed how they passed the full weight of responsibility onto their son, didn't they? Ask him. He's old enough to speak for himself, they said. Fear, concern over the consequences, pride, minds closed to new truths, they're all reasons that prevented people then and prevent people now from stepping into the light of Jesus' love. And then we see how the man who has been healed reacts to Jesus. He shows us what we should be like as followers of Jesus. He moves from darkness to living in the light. He's a changed person, both physically and spiritually. Because we know that because after he's been healed, his neighbours aren't actually sure that it's him, are they? Could this be the same man, they're saying? There must have been a really amazing transformation in that man. When we become Christians and all through our Christian journey, we too should be changed. Maybe not in an instant as he was, but we should be gradually changed and transformed as the light of Jesus fills the whole of our lives. Frank Doyle comments, our lives are to have a transparency where there is no darkness, no hidden behaviour, which we will be ashamed to reveal to others. I wonder if you've ever finished off a bit of decorating in the evening, maybe worked a bit later than you'd hoped to be working, and gone to bed happy that it's done, finished, it looks great. And then when you come down in the morning, being disappointed to see that what looked fine in the dim light of evening is less than perfect in the bright morning light. You can see bits of painting that you've missed, especially if it's white on white. It's terrible to do, isn't it? Bits that you might have just missed, or little creases in the wallpaper that you've not spotted the night before. Well, maybe we can each ask ourselves, what does my life, my character, my behaviour look like under the bright, clear light of Jesus? Because there will be blemishes in our lives that will be shown up. There might be missed bits where we failed to act as we should have done. And the light of Jesus shines on us, yes, to show us those things, but to bring healing and forgiveness to these parts of our lives. And the more of our lives we open up to the light of Jesus, the more of his healing and transformation we are able to receive. I suppose it's a bit, especially when you're a child and you maybe had a hurt on your hand or on your, maybe a grazed knee. You really don't want anybody to touch it, do you? You don't want anybody to bother because it's hurting and you want to keep it to yourself. But of course, when somebody does take your poorly finger or your grazed knee and put some ointment on and bind it up, put a plaster on, whatever, it feels so much better and the healing starts. It's a bit like that with our lives. Sometimes it can be difficult to open up parts of our lives, maybe hurtful parts of our lives to Jesus. But when we do, we invite his light and healing into that part of our lives. And we can be transformed by him. We're set free to live our lives without fear. 1 John chapter 4 verse 18. Perfect love casts out fear. Perfect love casts out fear. Jesus has come to bring us light, love and healing. And those who resist this are left with their fear in the darkness because Jesus never forces us to accept his light and love. But those who respond to Jesus receive healing and are set free to live their lives without fear. The man born blind receives this healing and this freedom. He is changed and transformed by the light of Jesus. And what does he do next? He tells what Jesus has done for him. And he won't be persuaded, will he, to change what he knows to please the Pharisees and avoid trouble. They put him under considerable pressure, but he sticks to what he knows. Jesus has healed him. And we can all, like that man, give our testimony, our witness of what Jesus has done for us. Because it's our personal experience of Jesus. So not even the cleverest of scholars can find arguments to disprove it. It's the truth of Jesus working in our lives. So I think our reading this morning poses 2 challenges for us. Firstly, we need to ask ourselves, are we living completely in the light of Jesus? Or are there parts of our life where we need to ask Jesus to shine his healing, cleansing, freeing light? So that's the first thing. Are we living completely in the light of Jesus? Are there bits of our lives that we need to open up to him? And secondly, are we willing, like the man born blind, to tell and to show those who do not yet know him what Jesus has done for us? Let's just take a moment of quiet prayer and talk to Jesus about those challenges and anything else that has occurred to you in the quiet of your own heart.